So growing up, my parents went to a Catholic church, the church that I went to. And a lot of people really like Catholic Church. It's very popular. A lot of people feel connection with God there. I really didn't, for whatever reason. It could have been because I didn't actively pursue one. Could have been because I didn't enjoy it, didn't really feel a connection during the services. Whatever it may be, I didn't have that connection that a lot of people do have. So for that reason, growing up in high school, my faith was really non-existent. That being said, I wasn't doing bad things. I have a very stable home, two great parents who loved me. I was doing the right things, working hard. I'd go to class, get good grades, those sort of things. But I was just doing those things just because I thought it was the right thing to do. Got to college, my true freshman year, I didn't really do anything faith-wise. It was just I was just kind of neutral. I didn't do much, just went to class, went to football, wasn't really pursuing anything, but wasn't running from God, or I wasn't angry or anything like that. Then the next year is my redshirt freshman year. I was roommates with a guy named Luke, and he went to FCA in church, and he invited me to FCA. And one of the things about Luke is he played football as well, and we took all the same classes. So he could counter all my excuses. He could say, "Zach, do you want to come to FCA?" I would say something like, "Well, no, I've got a quiz I want to study for." He could always come back and say something, "Well, actually, that quiz is until Friday, and you already know everything anyway. It's going to be easy." So I say, "Okay, fine." So I start going to FCA. And it's nothing like I've ever really experienced before. A lot of like-minded people talking about Jesus in a very relaxed setting and having open discussions, and I loved it. So I started going more and more. And then Luke invites me to church, Abundant Life. Well, it was called Morningside then, in Brookings on Sunday. I say, sure, I'll give it a try. So I go to Abundant Life, and it's awesome. It's unlike any service I've ever experienced. The worship music was awesome, and Pastor Joe was preaching with a style that I'd never seen before. I shouldn't say style, with content that I'd never seen before, as far as Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse, and the gospel, and about grace, and all these concepts that I was aware of, but hadn't been presented to me in that way, and it was awesome. So that second year, I'm going to FCA, I'm going to Abundant Life, and then what would have been going into sophomore year, we're doing all those things, and then junior and senior year, we even added during the spring we'd do sermon night, where a group of us would get together on Monday and watch a sermon online and then talk about it. I think it was Monday. And Wednesday we had FCA. Sunday we'd go to Abundant Life. And then sometimes we'd even go to Oasis, which had just this rock star quality band. Go and listen to worship music and a little message as well. But that was at 8:30 or 8 at night. So you could go to two services. But I went from, in probably about 3 years, I went from my true freshman year not going to church at all to my junior and senior year doing church-related activities. Monday, Wednesday, and twice on Sunday, depending on the week, but on average, that's what we were doing. And it was awesome. My faith, just the more I learned and the more I heard, my faith just started to grow and take off. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, I was, again, still doing all the right things. My behavior did change, but it wasn't a drastic change. But now, the motive for working hard and doing the right thing and trying to be kind and represent the love that Jesus has for us it stems from that. It doesn't stem from it's the right thing to do. It's just the love that Jesus has for us and a God that loves us, and you want to reflect that light outwardly and represent your great Father how he should be represented. So the behavior didn't change, but the motives certainly changed. Right. Then we get to the NFL, and I now pursue all those events. There's a players only Bible study Friday morning. There's team chapel Saturday night. There's a couples Bible study Monday, and I go to all those. Always go to all of those. I go to all those that I can because I just love it. Right. I want to keep hearing more and being a part of those things. And I'm still watching Abundant Life services on YouTube. Praise God for YouTube, because I can watch those and keep up with those. And that started in college.
So I think it's Mark 8:36 says, "What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?" From what it sounds like, early on in your college, you got caught, and not like terribly right, but you kind of got caught up in, I need to, focus on these worldly things. What changed? What experience did you have to where you really wanted to dive more in and constantly pursue God instead of, go to church here, go to church there?
Mm-hmm. It's hard to say what changed. It was very gradual for me. It wasn't a light switch. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was just a gradual change, and the more I heard, the more I wanted to hear.
Right.
And I would say just attending these things. Gotcha. And having someone invite me repeatedly until I wanted to go myself. But there wasn't a big light switch change where I was like, now I also want to do those things. It's just more of a gradual transition for me in growth.
Sure.
How I integrate my faith with my on-field play would be, I think, one thing I do is before I go out on the football field is I just think about how grateful I am to be doing what I'm doing, being able to play football and being able to play at the level that I'm at. And that being grateful is being grateful to God for the opportunity. So that gratefulness before I walk out to any field, the practice field or the game field, or looking around a stadium, that really stems from God, that gratefulness and that feeling of being grateful. I'm grateful to him for the opportunities that I have. I also remind myself during football and during games and things like that I'm loved. And that's important because in the NFL, a lot is based on performance. It's not on who you are, it's how well you perform. And to stay away from that focus, just remind myself that I'm loved no matter what happens. I'm loved if I score 4 touchdowns, or I'm loved if I have 4 fumbles. And there's nothing I can do to change that love that he has for me. And that's where where that helps me, where my faith helps me in football. And also, whenever I'm getting nervous, I can always just remind myself that I'm a child of God, and like I said, I'm good to go, I'm loved. But on top of that, I have his favor and his blessing.
Amen.
So something that commonly can happen in sports is an injury. I was injured my rookie year. The injury rate in the NFL is 100%. People have injuries while they're growing up, and it can be very devastating for a competitor, someone who's very competitive and wants to compete, and all of a sudden they're out of competition. And you really, no matter who you are, there's always a sense of, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did it have to happen now? And what I will say to that is, I believe that my God is a good God, and he wants me to have an abundant life. And those injuries, one, they either just happen. Because you play sports, the chances of something happening like that are are high when you compete. It's just the way it is. That's one of the reasons why you love sports, because it's there's that physical aspect. But aside from that, it could be the devil trying to attack you and tear you down and bring you down. But God doesn't want you to be injured. He doesn't want you to be sad or not doing something that you love. He wants you to have an abundant life and excel in what you're doing and your passions, because he's put those passions on your heart and those dreams.
Right.
And so to go out and pursue those is, what he wants you to do. He's put those on you and inside of you. So he doesn't want you to be injured and be sitting out like that.
Right.
So that just know where that injury is coming from, I guess, or know that God did not put this injury on you. Now, that's not to say that from that injury, God can't use that to get closer to you or bring you closer to him.
Right, Romans 8:28, right?
Yeah, or use it to, for example, a lot of times people will say, I'm glad I had that injury because I was able to get closer with my family and I was able to get my faith back on track. So God can certainly use those to better your faith and your relationship with him. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't want that.
Right. So say someone is unsure about their faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't maybe have similar feelings to you being in the Catholic Church and not really resonating with you at all. What would you say to them if they're close to giving up on their faith or something of the sort?
So if you're having a bad experience with the church, and then maybe one of your options is to strip the church away from it. The church community is for sure a good thing and something that you want to be a part of, but you need to find a community for you. And if you're younger and you're, and you're kind of under your parents still at that point, I think if you're under parents who believe in God, you can offer up different options. For example, maybe instead of going to church every Sunday, you set aside time to have a Bible study as a family. A more private setting with some open discussion where you can ask questions and talk about your doubts. Or maybe suggest every other weekend you try a different church until you find one that everyone can agree on that you enjoy as well. But I think there are other options. Suggesting other options is what I would do if me and my faith now were to be back in high school in those settings. Because there's so many resources now. Watching a sermon on YouTube with smart TVs, you just hook it up and the whole family can sit and watch. So there's a lot of options aside from just staying and grinding it out and not feeling that connection.
Right.
And suggesting those is what I would recommend.
Yeah. So, the real question that everybody wants to know is,
yes.
Everyone wants to know. I've been getting hundreds of comments. How much money do you make? Just kidding.
Lightning strikes by my window, hits my chest right in the morning.